end. As well as Natalie will be giving feedback on your Zoom setup if you would like to volunteer for that. So if those are two things, if you have questions that come up during Natalie's presentation, or if you're really excited to get some feedback about your Zoom setup, then put those in the comments or in the chat, and I will be sure to moderate those questions at the very end. Please feel free to ask questions as they come up during the presentation, because Natalie is a wealth of information, and I know she's going to be excited to answer questions that you have. So with that being said, I want to tell you, sorry, before we get started, am I muted? Can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay, perfect. Okay, really quickly, and then we'll jump into Natalie's presentation. Natalie is graduated in 2001 from Baylor, and she is the owner and image consultant with Signature Style. She spent the last 2 decades building a highly cultivated toolkit to help her clients feel confident, empowered, and exceptionally well-dressed for any lifestyle or occasion. Through her business, Signature Style, she works with professionals at all levels of the organization to be the best version of themselves through style, personal presentation, body language, executive presence coaching, and the myriad of factors that go into being a person of influence. A frequent guest on Houston Life, Great Day Houston, and an oft-requested speaker for Fortune 500 companies, Natalie is driven by the philosophy that we are worth our best, clothes are a wonderful catalyst, and that our personal image impacts influence and reflects our intention. She and her husband are based in Houston with their 2 super cute tiny interns. With that, I would love to introduce Natalie.
Hello, welcome to our presentation on why Zoom is amazing. No, it's not. That's definitely not our presentation today. Today, we are going to be talking about how to make the best of Zoom. I will say, I know that it can be so frustrating, but there are some great advantages about Zoom, and I'm going to share some of those with you today, as well as how to look your best. And I can't wait to answer your questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see my presentation. Okay, so you should see that there. We are going to be talking, as I mentioned, about a couple of things. We're going to talk about style tips. I'm going to start there for guys and gals, and then we're going to be talking about how to build trust. Very easy, simple thing that you can do. And then we're going to be talking about faces, because that's what we see the whole time that we're on Zoom. So the first thing for your video conference style, choose your background wisely, right? You can see I have a lovely painting. I'm going with the monochromatic look back here, influenced by Inauguration Day. Clearly the trend right now. You want to choose your background wisely. It's not just about what's in the background. It's also, is the background relevant to what you're doing today? We were talking today that today's a lunch and learn. We probably all could have been in our kitchen, and that would have been appropriate because it's a lunch and learn. I know that you know this, but I'm still going to say it out loud so you can pass it on to someone else that you might have seen do this. You probably wouldn't invite a meeting into your bedroom. You probably wouldn't invite a meeting into your bathroom. So probably not a good idea to have your Zoom background be one of those places. I get a lot of questions about the virtual backgrounds, about whether those are helpful, whether those are a good idea. And absolutely, I actually recommend, in the same vein, if you're going to choose a virtual background, I would pick a background that's relevant to what's happening. So not necessarily a beautiful, picturesque screensaver type background, but perhaps a well-organized bookshelf or a well-organized office or something along those lines. Those would be good uses for backgrounds. And please, if you have questions, Katrina mentioned this, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat. I would love to answer those as we go. Bring out your eyes and your face, of course. So here's the thing about Zoom. It's just your face. Hopefully it's a little bit more if you've centered yourself well, but you really want to draw attention to your face, and you can do that a few ways. You can do that by having a color that is several shades darker than your eye color. That's going to really make your eyes pop. I actually just shared a photo to my Instagram stories of Dr. Biden from yesterday. That's a perfect example of going 2 shades darker, but still in the color family of your eyes. So you can see what that looks like. Going darker, bringing out your eyes, and then also having some kind of detail up here. I have a navy top and my lights are a little bit farther. I need to bring them closer, but I have some visual interest up here on the top. You want to do that same thing so that the attention is staying up. Even though, of course, the attention is focused on our face already, you want to keep the visual interest up as well. So those are two. Find the light is your number one thing. Find the light. Face a window. If you don't have a window nearby, I'm actually in the probably darkest corner of my house, but I have 2 photography lights that I have set up in front of me. If you don't have that, I would recommend taking a lamp, take the lampshade off and put that lamp directly in front of you. You really want to consider 2 things when you're finding the light, and that is you don't want it too close to your face because it's going to wash you out. And you also don't want it too far offset to the left or to the right because it's going to cast strange shadows. But the reason that is important, not only because we want to be able to see your face, but it's directly related to how you are perceived on that call. If you are not well lit, if you are totally in shadow, 2 things might happen. One, we might consider that your setup is not either not technologically savvy, potentially not current, and there's a very subtle shift that could happen that translates to your ideas may not be as current or as relevant either. Very subtle. No one would actually come out and say, you weren't well lit in your Zoom call, therefore I will not listen to your ideas. That's not how it goes, but there is just a very subtle shift that might happen, and we want to avoid all of these things. Using all of these tips together is what creates that image that you're going for. So that's the first thing in terms of not being well lit. The other thing that might happen is if you are on a call, especially with several people, and there's one person who's not well lit, that person is someone that you're going to start skipping over. You're not going to pay attention to that person as much on the screen view. And who wants that? No one wants to be skipped over. So you want to make sure that you are well lit. And I actually meant to say this at the very beginning, you want your video to be on. Whenever possible, turn your video on. Even if it means you're not showing up perfectly, still turn your video on. We are missing out on so many opportunities to walk into somebody's office and talk to them there, to pass them in the hallway, to talk to them at the microwave or at the coffee bar, whatever it is. We're missing out on those opportunities. And so when you can turn your video on and make sure that you are getting every single solitary touch point, that does nothing but help you. Keeps you front and center, keeps you in people's minds, looks more engaged, looks more involved. And that's important, especially now as things are topsy-turvy and we still don't exactly know what the future of work is going to look like. So turning on your video, choosing your background wisely, making it relevant, trying to keep it a bit clean. And even I have mine divided out by thirds. I'm going to shrink myself down a little bit here. So I've got the mannequin here, the painting here, and then my doorway. So it's divided by thirds. It doesn't have to be that specific, but that is helpful when you're thinking about the composition of your background. Bringing out your eyes, drawing attention to your face with either detailing or with the color that you're choosing. And then of course, finding the light. And I will mention something about the clothes that you wear overall. I mentioned having detailing up at the top. Maybe that means that you have a top like this. Red is great. Going for some brighter colors is actually great. I know I chose navy today, but going for some brighter colors is wonderful because the video does dull out color. So you can go a little bit brighter than you might have thought you could. And then I have this top. I'm just tying the bow here. And this is the same type of example of what I'm wearing, that there would be some attention up here at the top, but also it's got a print and yet it's going to be pretty easy to look at. It's not going to be bold color blocking or anything like that. That would be too busy, but it still draws attention. Something to have on hand, guys, and well, let's talk blazers for a second. Actually, I'm going to talk denim first. Have this nearby, a denim jacket. Whether you are wearing your pajamas or your bathing suit, or somebody called you at 7:45 and you have to be on a call in about 10 minutes, you can be ready and look put together. Have that denim blazer nearby. It can be in any color, it can be white, it can be green, whatever, but it looks professional. One thing that I'm working with my clients a lot on right now is how do I look professional while not wearing professional attire? Because that's really what's changing quite a bit in the style of the workforce. So this is an easy way. It still has some structure to it. It draws attention with the blades, with the collar, and it still gives a professional vibe, even though, of course, it's denim. That's a little different than what we might have worn before. If you do want to go for a blazer, guys, this works for you as well. Go for your atypical blazer colors, atypical blazer prints. It does not have to be the solid navy suiting, the solid black suiting. It does not have to be that serious. It can be much more playful because on screen, that's going to translate a little differently. That's not mine. So pay attention to that when you are picking. Definitely, you can include blazers. You can definitely include collared shirts, anything that's up here at the top. That's going to keep things looking professional and polished without looking over the top. Speaking of over the top, let's talk about makeup for a minute. A few things I want to tell you about. First of all, if you don't already know this, first of all, finding the light means that you automatically look at least twice as amazing as you did before, because the light evenly lights your skin, evens out your skin tone, pores disappear. It's miraculous. So that's a wonderful thing about Zoom. But if you go at if you're looking at the bottom bar where you have the mute button and then you have the stop video, this is specifically on Zoom, though it does work for FaceTime. And I don't know that it works for Teams. But if you know and you find it, tell me. If you click the down, or excuse me, for you, it would probably be the up arrow next to your video. You can click video settings. And when you click into those video settings, there's a button that says touch up my appearance. Ah. So I'm going to show you right now, mine is just barely on. If I go all the way, look how far we can go, like glamour shots. We can go all the way with it. But that is helpful for keeping yourself, again, if you've not had a chance to pull yourself together quite as much as you would like, and you're giving a presentation, you don't want to think about it, touch up my appearance is great. There's also on some, there is a button that is adjust for low light, and that is helpful as well. Mine, I just turned mine on to adjust for low light, and that's off. Actually, probably could leave it on. I'm going to leave it off for now, but you could do adjust for low light as well. So I wanted to show you those two things just so that you know. But because you are doing those things, you do not have to go overboard with makeup. One, it looks incongruent because we all know we're at home. We all know that we're here. We're going through the video to each other. But when you go a little over the top with your makeup, it ends up looking a bit harsh on the video. I looked to try to find an example. I looked to try to find the specific video that I saw yesterday in some of the interviews. This one woman, unfortunately, had very bizarre makeup application. Her concealer was very, very light and very heavy. And then around here was very light, and there was no blending between. And so, because as you've noticed on Zoom, it sort of highlights the shadows, and it looked very off. And if she had gone with a little bit less makeup, it actually would have been better versus trying to go over the top with it. Now's not really the time to bust out the bright red lipstick, though I do recommend having a color so that you do have, because the camera can wash you out a bit, you do still want to apply a bit of color. But certainly now is not the time to go through pore minimizing and the contouring and all of that good stuff. You can save yourself a lot of time on that. So you mostly want to check the edges. You check hair, make sure that there are no crazy flyaways. These are the things we want to keep tamed down. Eyebrows and your lips. Those are the things you most want to focus on. So a few tips for you there on style. But let's talk about the body language next. No, we can't. There we go. So communication, you've probably heard these stats before, that communication is very little about what you say. It's more about how you say what you say and the body language that you are using when you're presenting those words. 55% nonverbal, 38% vocal. That implies the tone that you're using, how quickly you're speaking, how slow you're speaking. Both of those extremes are not ideal. And then, of course, the actual words that you're using. So if we're missing out on at least 55% of body language, we have to make this part of our body language really matter. And here is something, two ways that you can do that. The virtual highlight, of course, the eyes and the face have it. That is what matters the most. So if I'm thinking about eye contact, and these principles, by the way, will apply in real life as well, not just in Zoom. Dear Jesus, please let us get out of here soon. And we can use these techniques in person as well. I know some of you are starting to return to the office. Eye contact serves to establish connection. If I can't see you, I cannot connect with you. If I cannot connect with you, I can't do two things. One, I can't see your reaction. I can't see how you're responding to what I'm saying. And if I can't see you and I can't connect to you, I also don't know if I can trust you. And business is about doing business with who we trust. We want to do business with those that we trust. We want to interact with those that we trust. We want to have a relationship with those that we trust. And eye contact is the number one way to establish that. So we want to be able to see your face. We want to be able to see it well. And then we want to interpret the facial expressions that we're seeing. And we'll talk about that as well. Also, in terms of building trust, the number one thing that you can do is make sure that your hands show up in the box. Not quite like I'm doing now. This is not what you would have to do. Please, please, everyone show up to your next Zoom and just talk like this. I think that would be wonderful. You'd be like, I don't know, she told me to do it. You do want your hands to show up whenever possible in a very normal way. By the way, this generally speaking means that you don't believe somebody. So maybe don't do that part. But if you want to have your hands folded here, or if you want to just as you're speaking, make sure that a hand comes up a time or two, or if your video placement can be a bit wider so that you can see a bit more of your torso and hands, I would do that. But whenever possible, whenever you can show your hands, that helps to build trust and establish connection as well. There are two different types of facial expressions that I'm going to talk a little bit about macro expressions, but mostly today we're going to talk about micro expressions. So macro expression is what you generally see on someone's face. If they are angry, and you guys have been having a conversation for the last 10 minutes about it, they're still angry, that facial expression would have been anger the whole time. That's considered a macro expression. The micro expression would be the time that you said something to someone and they had just this blip that went across their face, and then their face went back to whatever they were hoping to project. That blip that goes across the face is called a micro expression. And these micro expressions were developed by, or researched and discovered by Dr. Paul Ekman. Do any of you remember the show Lie to Me? I need to look at when it actually aired. For sure it was in the 90s sometime, I think. Maybe it was later. But Lie to Me is a show that is all based on the research of Dr. Paul Ekman. And it's all about what our faces are actually saying, not just what we're telling people we're saying or what that macro expression is showing. And what he discovered was that there are 7 different micro expressions. It's a little bit like naming the 7 dwarves. So we'll try it at the end. And those 7 micro expressions are universal. It doesn't matter your cultural upbringing. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic levels. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your color. None of that matters. These micro expressions are 100% universal. Everyone experiences them. And they are very hard to fake. These micro expressions happen instantly and then adjust back to the macro expression. So it's not something, it can be, but it's very hard to fake. You might see someone who just stays stoic, but in terms of faking surprise or faking anger as a micro expression, it's very hard to do. But we're going to talk about all 7 of them. And we're going to start with surprise. So surprise, I'm going to show you a look that is actually not true surprise, and then a look that is surprise. But for each of them, I'm going to give you a phrase to help you remember them. So for surprise, think about forced open, that literally somebody kind of comes up from behind you and pushes you forward. Your eyebrows are going to go up. Feel free to practice these as we go, especially since your video is off. Your eyebrows are up, your eyes open, and your jaw drops. Like I said, it's like an exploding balloon, like, ah! By the way, I was talking to my oldest tiny intern last night and mentioning that I was looking for a new version of surprise. And she goes, I need a really good surprise face. And she goes, ah! I thought it was hilarious because She's 6. And even at 6, she has an instinct of what that surprise looks like. But I do have a story of her from when she was 2 months. It was her first set of shots. I didn't tell her. We just showed up and I'm holding her hand. I'm not saying anything about what's going on. And she gets that shot, and it was quintessential surprise. Eyebrows went up, eyes were open, jaw drops. And then, of course, she started screaming. But it was so interesting to me that even at 2 months, before they've even had a chance to learn very much, that still that instinctual facial expression happened. So this is a scene from Jurassic Park. This is the first time, I forget what her name is actually. She's the doctor. But this is the first time that she's seen dinosaurs. So look at her face. And she has kind of half surprise. I know it's faded right now, but look, her mouth is open the way it's supposed to be, but there's not a lot that's happening right here with her eyes and her eyebrows. I'm going to show you another image. This is a still shot from a different scene. And this is what I would describe as true surprise. Her mouth is open, her eyes are open, her eyebrows are up. This doesn't happen very often in television because most of the time that initial surprise face is the camera is not on the actor or actress when it's happening. And some of that is because it's nearly impossible to fake. This actually is a clip from Money Heist, and I watched it previously, and she actually, her true expression is something different, but she was able to fake into a surprise micro expression very quickly. It was very impressive. So I'm encouraging you to watch television quite a bit over the next couple of days so that you can practice and see these micro expressions. Normally, I would tell you to go to a restaurant or go to a coffee bar and observe people. You can do that a bit as well safely. So the next one is disgust. Disgust is more of a scrunched face. The way surprise is forced open, disgust is scrunched, like you've smelled something gross. The lower lip raises, the nose wrinkles, and there's lines below the lower lid. Just ugh, gross. This is definitely not an expression we really want to see as we're describing basically anything in the workplace or really maybe anytime. But disgust is one of the micro expressions that you might see. It might be if somebody is offering, let's see, if somebody is faking very polite, or if someone is faking very even pretentious, you might see a disgust look in the first little bit of their expression. I was trying to think, Little Fires Everywhere, I think might have seen in Reese Witherspoon's character, you might see a little bit of it there. But disgust, you're going to see scrunched. The next one is fear. The way that surprise is a forced open, think about fear as tensed back. It's both surprised, but it's a surprise backwards. And tension, of course. The eyebrows are going to be raised and drawn together. Upper lid is raised, lower lid is tensed, your mouth is open, and the lips are slightly tensed as well. So like just tension. And I have been asked this before, no matter how much work you've had done, or if there's been Botox involved, some of these most of these actually, let's say probably all of them, you can still see a little bit of the expression, even if there's not as much opportunity for movement as there might have been before. So fear, this is especially helpful. What I do recommend as perhaps you're giving a presentation or you are talking with your team or you are sharing about the direction of a department, I would encourage you to put your screen on gallery view whenever possible so that you can see the most number of people at once, so that when you are delivering your message, you can also be looking at their videos so that you can see these expressions. I know sometimes technology is so obnoxious and slows down and we freeze in bizarre facial expressions, but the advantage of that is you might get lucky and they might freeze in an expression that you might want to investigate and see what's going on there. When I talk about looking at the video camera, by the way, I do encourage you to look directly into the camera. Mine is in quite possibly the worst possible position. I have a Dell and it's right above the keyboard. So I'm looking down and it's a little bit harder to look up at the things that are going on. But if you can plug in a separate camera, or if you have a camera that's directly here, there we go, directly there in the middle of the screen, You can look at that camera and also out of your periphery still be able to see the gallery view images. But just like we talked about eye contact being important, you want to know that I'm talking directly to you. So that's just as important for me to be looking into the camera. It's just as important for you to be looking into the camera when you're the one presenting as well. Anger, tensed forward. Fear tensed back, anger tensed forward, which I think is so interesting because certainly there is, in the psychology realm, anger and fear are linked together. So tensed forward, everything that you're seeing here on her face is what would happen in an anger micro expression. The eyebrows raised and drawn together, just like we saw in fear. The vertical lines between the eyes. That's what I was saying. If you've had a little bit of Botox, it's not going to show quite as strongly, but you will still see some of that there. The lower lids are tensed here. The nostrils dilating. That is the part that's the hardest to fake. It's hard in just an instantaneous moment to fake the nostrils dilating and all of these other things happening, which is why micro expressions can really be a good tool because they do reveal a little bit about what might be happening with that person. After we finish going over these, I'll talk about a few tips on what to do with that information that you observe as well. The lips also pressed with corners down. That's the last thing that you're going to see. So there's literally tension all down the face from top to bottom. There's going to be tension in every area on that anger. The next one is happiness. Happiness, up and light. And I have two different examples here because I want to talk to you about what might or might not have happened in your own headshot. The lip corners, look to the woman on the left. Lip corners are drawn back and up. There's a wrinkle from the outer nose to the outer lip. The cheeks are raised, and crow's feet, we've all learned them, are going to be near the outside of the eyes as well. Now, what happens with a true happiness expression is it does make your eyes squinch up. So a lot of times a photographer will tell you to smile, but they may not have you smile all the way so that they can still see your eyes. The problem with that is if you look to the woman on the right, she looks disengaged and not totally present. She only has a smile and then no other part of her face is showing that happiness expression. So her headshot would not be as engaging, as inviting, as warm, as approachable as the woman on the left if she was to use that, some version of that as her headshot. So take a look at your headshots. And if you haven't had them done in a long time, I do recommend going and getting them redone, at least within, some people do them every year. You don't have to do them that often, every 2 years, to make sure that you've got a fresh look, especially because if you do have your video turned off, then often your whatever a photo you've chosen then is what's going to show. So I do recommend you have a good headshot, a good photo that you can show if for some reason you need to have your video off. So do look at your headshots, do look at any photos and see if that happiness is translating all the way. I do recommend practicing, and then you can still keep your eyes open. What might feel a little crazy in person translates to a photo well. So don't hesitate if the photographer is telling you, I need you to eyes open and then a bigger smile. Do that because the same way that the video camera dulls you out a little bit, a photo dulls you out a little bit as well. So you want to go a little bit more. So this is happiness. Sadness, opposite. The way happiness is up and light, sadness is going to be crumbling. Eyebrows are drawn in and up. The corners of the lips are drawn down. The jaw comes up and the lower lip juts out. Very sad. And this micro expression, if it ends up following to a macro expression, this is the micro expression of sadness is on the verge. That's probably the best way to talk about it. It's on the verge and then just completely falls apart as it goes into the actual macro expression. And then our last one, contempt. Not a great one. Definitely don't want to see this one. Definitely probably have seen this one in some point. And that is just, it has one indicator, and that is that one side of the mouth is raised. Just kind of, really? Go ahead. I know you've seen it. You've probably given it to someone at some point. I know I have. And you want to look at these and see what's happening on that person's face. So there's 7. Do we remember them? Surprise, fear, anger, disgust, happiness, sadness, and contempt. Look at that. I can't name the 7 dwarves, though, so don't ask, please. Let's talk about what you do with that information. So we have these micro expressions, we have the building trust, we have the way that we pulled all of our information together, but specifically about the micro expressions, here are a couple things to remember. This is a data point. It's not necessarily gospel. Because let's say you did see contempt. Let's say you're in the middle of a presentation, you're talking numbers, you've shared that this particular department is about to see a $20,000 cut in individual project budgets, and you see contempt on someone's face. Okay, we can do a couple of things. First of all, making sure that we're noticing it because we have our videos up, people are on video, so we can see what's actually happening. I do want you to consider that it is a data point because we are all in our homes, not all, maybe most, and your tiny interns might be running about. And maybe you told everyone, please be quiet, I'm on this call, and you hear shouting and screaming downstairs, and then this contempt look goes across your face because I told them to be quiet. But it's at the same time that something else is happening on screen. And so then it might be misinterpreted as my reaction to what's happening on screen versus what's actually happening in my world out here. That's an extra nuance that we get to enjoy as a result of being on Zoom and not all actually in the same place. So what you can do, consider whether or not to pursue it. Let's say you saw that look on someone's face, but literally every other data point over the course of the hour-long meeting implies that everything is going well, they are on board with whatever's happening, then maybe you don't need to pursue it. There's also allowing room for input. If you notice something, and we're allowing room for input here at the end with some chat, but typically if you're presenting in more of a dialogue fashion, stop talking for a minute and give people a chance to chime in. Because if you're just talking the whole time, which we are all guilty of, and we're all guilty of sort of steamrolling it, talking real fast, especially if we get excited about something, or maybe if we're a little bit nervous about something, and we don't allow room for input. So we want to allow room for input. There may also be a technology issue. There may be a lag. And so I might ask the question, what do you guys think? And then there's nothing. And that's because there's a delay. So I don't know. So we want to just make sure that you're allowing room for input. Explain more. Perhaps you said there's $20,000 cut in each project budget. And then if we look on what's happening next week, and you just move on, maybe there needs to be a little bit more explanation about why that decision was made. And I will caution you, especially women, because we tend to have this happen to us the most. In your efforts to explain more, still remain concise and avoid talking too fast. A lot of times we end up going, okay, and let me tell you why that happened, because we were looking at all the budget numbers and we decided that this is what was needed to happen. And if we didn't do it here, it was going to need to happen here. And it ends up looking less in control of the situation versus we made this decision after looking at each project budget. This is an easy thing that we can do without having to sacrifice our other goals. This is and if you have questions, whatever, we can go on with that. Staying concise, staying measured, stays in control and helps with your professional presence. And then of course, the last thing, ask questions. Hey, what did you guys think about that? Keep your questions open-ended so that you have room for people to be involved and see if what you were seeing was accurate, or if it was accurate with their overall feelings, or if it was just a blip on the radar. I know those I really encourage you to go, again, watch television, watch your family, watch your interactions with friends, FaceTime your friends when you call them instead of just calling them on the phone, and observe those facial expressions. Practice them yourself too, so that you can see what they look like and what it feels like when your face moves in that particular way. But those are important things to observe because, like I mentioned, each of these things is a data point that we can not only use to project our best image, but also to better understand the people that we're working with. We want to work together well, and that is an easy way to do it. So If you guys have any questions for me, as I mentioned, please enter them in the chat. You have a QR code in front of you now, and that will link you to my newsletter if you'd like to sign up for that. But I will be here, so let me know. I think we might turn your videos back on. Oh, also, if you would like a bit of feedback on your current Zoom setup, or if you have any questions about what you could do to make that more professional, if you need it to be more professional or just more visually interesting, let me know.
Natalie, thank you so much. That was jam-packed with awesome information and lots of stuff that I didn't think about. I really liked the allow for input. That one was really good because I know that I tend to, when I'm nervous, I rush. So that was really,
I
really
totally understand.
yeah, we got some awesome feedback from people and just a few questions. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to input them as we're hearing answers from Natalie. I will be happy to go back and ask. There's a struggle is the camera placement on iPad/phone/screen alignment. So do you have any other tips or feedback about how we can show up at the best angle in that?
When you're actually using your phone or your iPad, the iPad is the hardest, I would say, because it is so bulky. But if you're using your iPhone, I'm going to show you to the side. If you can have it out a little bit more than you might think you need to, that would be helpful because then you're not quite so close. Because this is a little overwhelming. And this is kind of how I would prefer to sit because I want to be like, hi, talk to me. I want to talk to you. But if you can have it a little bit out, that actually is better. And if you have it a little off center, I know that's backwards from how you would do it on a laptop, but often that helps as well. Because I know the iPhone especially distorts your face. So by the way, if you're planning on making any adjustments to your face, don't do it based on the iPhone selfie because it is not accurate. But I would just practice a little bit, but definitely try to keep it a little bit farther away from you. And then again, facing the light so that you've got the best chance of looking amazing on the selfie side.
Awesome, thank you. And then another question is, how close should you be to your video? What's recommended? We know not like this.
Right. I do recommend that that's a great question, by the way. Thank you. I do recommend that you fill the screen, but still have, like, for me, ideally, I would be back here. I feel like you can't hear me as well, although I did get this new speaker. Maybe I should do that. But if I were back here, that would be a little bit better from a filling the frame perspective. But as the presenter, I prefer to be up here so that you can see my face a bit more, so that you can see what's happening. But having yourself, generally speaking, framed in the middle is going to be the best. I mentioned a little bit about body language in terms of hands, but another thing to notice is if someone is here and they're engaged and with it, and then you start talking about some things, and then they move to here, it's the same in real life. That means that they are kind of stepping back a little bit and disengaging a little bit. So you don't have to freak out about it. Don't try to chase them down, but that is something to notice and see if something might need to be changed.
Yeah, that's such a good tip. I know for me, I don't know if I'm the only one in this presentation doing this, but as Natalie's giving feedback, I'm like, okay, get the right spot and adjust and all that stuff. I don't know if anybody else is adjusting as we're learning. Okay, the next question, is there a proper distance to have our head/shoulders in the picture? Sometimes I look like all face and others show more of their shoulders but don't look far away. So
Right. Same kind of thing. As much as possible, I would try to have at least a portion of your chest here so that it's not just a floating head, so that we can see a little bit more of you. And then we can, again, it just helps it feel a little bit more like we're actually there in person.
yeah.
And some of that can be changed just by the angle of the screen, by the way. So if your laptop screen right now just cuts you right here, just angle it down a little bit and that will put more of you in the screen.
Okay, great. Do you think ring lights are good?
Oh, good question. Ring lights are tricky. I don't love the ring in the eye thing. So if or if you have glasses, sometimes that is tough. But if you do have glasses actually, and you do have a ring light, you want the ring light to be offset at about 30 or 45 degrees, because then it won't reflect in your glasses. But they absolutely are helpful. And somebody was sharing that they're actually, this is outside of Zoom, if you were doing it for a video or something like that, that there are apps that will take the ring out of your eye, which I think is crazy that there's an app specific to that.
That's impressive. Before we go to the next question, I do want to remind you guys that Natalie has also graciously offered to give us specific feedback on our Zoom setup. So if you're interested in that, please also put your name in, because we've got some really awesome questions coming in. But I want to make sure that we can take advantage of that service as well that Natalie's giving us. So if you want to volunteer to see what tips you can get to fancy up your Zoom space, she's doing that as well. Okay, can you address microphone tips?
Yes. I have this little puck. We've just done this. If you have a group that you're speaking with, I actually recommend the puck, because if some people are in person and then others are online, it helps pick up the people that are here in the room a little bit better. But generally speaking, you can get a separate microphone, but mostly it's a little bit harder, but I would still just stick with the microphone that you have. I would go into your microphone settings and make sure that you have the volume turned up as loud as possible so that people can hear you the best. Because sometimes, especially if you're soft spoken, now this is making you even more soft spoken, and that can really detract from how you're showing up to a meeting.
Okay, great. Yeah, we had a few questions about tips on microphone. Do you mind, is it easy to tell us how to access it, or in
The
Zoom?
microphone thing, it's just, so the same way that you have the arrow next to your video, you have an arrow next to your mute button. And if you click on audio settings,
Okay,
and then
yeah,
you've got that test mic, but then you can turn the volume up there,
the
and you can
output
turn the
up.
speaker up if you have a hard time hearing people.
Oh, microphone. Okay, got it. Well, there you go. Awesome. Okay. Next question. Oh, this is so good. Any advice on the best way to stay hydrated while not being too distracting to others on Zoom? That's a really good question.
Have you been watching me in other Zoom meetings? I do. That is such a great question. I do recommend not having a wildly distracting bottle like I have right now. If you have something that's a little bit more muted, then that would probably be a better way to go. I mean, I would go with straw, really, because you can have a straw here and be drinking, versus if I'm here. I totally just spilled water down my shirt. Then that's a little bit more crazy. And look, I just sacrificed myself for you guys. So I do recommend probably a straw, but that's hard. Also, chug a bunch of water before the meeting starts, because really what happens to me, might happen to you as well, is we're going around like crazy people, and then we're like, okay, my Zoom call starts, and I'm here, and then you're sitting there for about 2 minutes, and you're like, I'm thirsty. So try to drink a bunch of water before your meeting too.
But maybe right before, so then you're not like,
Oh yeah,
you know, bathroom. Literally, like as it started, chug your water.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. You mentioned to use gallery screen, but how do you watch others' body language without looking like you're disengaged? That's an excellent question.
That is an excellent question. Don't stare at any one person. The same that you wouldn't do in real life, don't do here either. So I'm not going to, Whitney, I see you laughing. I'm just going to stare at Whitney. Like, hey, what's up? Like, it's going to look real awkward if I'm just totally glued into Whitney the whole time. So the key is to take a look at others, but then always go back to your speaker. Always go back and re-engage with your speaker, and just like calmly glance around the room.
Excellent. I think I would like to interject here that it is a struggle to look at the camera to talk, but then like see the feedback to the side. So it's always this kind of dance with your head. Anyway, okay.
Whenever possible, move the screens over to right above your, like I mentioned my video is down here at the bottom. So I try whenever possible to move the gallery view down so that it's at least here and not over here where I'm like, look like I'm off in La La Land.
Right. And an excellent tip from Laura is to turn off your ceiling fan if they're in your screen, because somebody's going to be like super dizzy
So
by
good.
you're done talking.
That's right.
So let me make sure. I feel like that is all of the questions that we have. And I have a few volunteers for Zoom setup. So let me make sure.
Okay.
Oh, this is an excellent question. Let's do this really quick and then we'll jump into to Zoom feedback. How can we use micro expressions to build trust?
Ooh, that's good. I would say two things. The same way that we value people remembering our name and remembering something about us, we have that opportunity with micro expressions of, hey, I noticed something about you. People want to be seen. And so when we have an opportunity to see the person and then engage with the person about what we may have seen, that's an opportunity to build trust because I'm showing that I'm engaged with you, I'm interested in you, and that automatically makes me want to trust you more.
Great. Thank you so much, Natalie. Okay, so our first volunteer is Fran. So I don't know if, hi, Fran. That painting is beautiful. So Fran is our first volunteer for Zoom background feedback.
Yay. Hi, Fran. I like that you can unmute yourself. I like that you have the trio thing also. So you've got the bookshelf and then you're in the middle and then the painting is off to the side. If you can move your camera down a little bit more, I would, so that you are a little bit more in the shot. There, that's a lot better because now you are the focus versus the painting is beautiful, but the painting and the bookshelf were what we saw a little bit more of. Now we see you a bit more. Do you have anti-glare on your glasses?
Yes.
Okay. So I see just a little bit of a reflection in them, but not much. And one thing I will tell you, excellent choice, by the way, on your glasses. I didn't mention this much, but with glasses, if you are wearing glasses, try to get as big of a frame as possible for your face because I don't want the frame to hit here because then I'm not going to be able to see your eyes. So you have glasses on and yet I can still see your eyes, which is great. So kudos to you on that. That's wonderful. I think it looks good. I like that once we move the screen, actually, I think it looks great.
Thank you.
Fran, you're like a rock star over there.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this next person, Judy Spencer. If you are actually from Seattle and you're joining us, then that is so nice. So thank you so much for being here. But Judy Spencer is the next volunteer. I'm trying to find her. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Can you find me?
Here,
Hello.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Are you really in Seattle?
Really happy to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Yes, of course. That's so exciting. You are exceptionally well lit. How are you doing that?
I have a light on the side of my screen. It's a little square light. It's not a halo, and I love it.
Yes.
Because Seattle has a lot of rain and it's very drab.
Right.
Pardon me?
It's very drab here today. Would you please share where you got that? Because it's exceptionally well lit. The only thing that I would recommend for you.
I'll send it to you.
That would be great. Thank you. The only thing that I would recommend is you are very well lit, but also your background is very dark. And so if there was a way to slightly brighten your background so it's not so much of a contrast between the two, then that would be good. But you look good.
Often,
and go ahead.
I was going to say, often I have a very high ceiling and I'll have the lights on above. And behind me, my Zoom sessions are music, and I have a
Oh,
piano
fun.
behind me. So I try to
Okay.
get it so that they can see the keys of the piano. I'm not playing right now, but
I'm
unless
sorry.
it's right-handed. And I loved what you said about setting the theme behind. Right now I have a silk screen behind me because I was working with people in Japan. And
Okay.
so I try to change my background according to who I'm working with. And I loved when you said that. I went, yes.
I love that you do that. That is amazing. Very well done. I also like the colors that you have on. And I believe, did you have blue glasses on earlier?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes, those are
Which,
great also. They're good. And see,
thank you.
another example, see how big they are that we can still see her eyes. That's really critical if you are having to do glasses as well. That's great.
Okay.
I like it. And you're
Thank
very
you.
well framed in the picture as well. Sure. Thanks.
All right, our next volunteer is Debbie Bryant Smith. We all know and love Debbie.
Oh, there you are. I was like, wait, I don't see her. Hi. How are you? Oh, here, let's unmute you.
We can't hear you,
Oh no,
Debbie.
you said something funny and I'm missing it.
You're muted.
I want to laugh too.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm going to be very interested to see what you have to say, because this is where I sit for pretty much all my Zooms, and I think I've not excelled at any of the things that you've recommended today. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because I'm very comfortable here, but well, you'll tell me.
Right. Well, I like that you are filling the frame well. I think that's great. You're centered and we see a little bit of you here. You probably, I appreciate that you're seeing the whole room behind you, but it's a lot because there's not a lot of distinction between the background and you. So you can do that. You can draw more attention to you a couple of ways. One, if you actually, let's see, your window is to the right. So if you pivoted facing the window so that you see more of the blank wall behind you,
This would be moving over
that might be
to
better.
a better place. This is where my husband has some of his
That's
meetings.
a lot better.
Mhm.
And then I still would try to light your face a little bit more because now the light behind you, you might need to turn that light off.
Brighter. Uh-huh.
Yes. And then I wouldn't be, if you wanted to, I wouldn't be afraid to wear a little bit of color to bring, there you go.
Oh yeah, much better.
Look at
And
that.
I'm not wearing makeup,
Oh, we should have
so
done it before and after. That was great.
no. So I think what you had to say about makeup is really important, because like I was running errands this morning and didn't think, I just ran in here and here we are. So it really does help to put some thought into these things that you're talking about, because it is a big difference.
It is. And lipstick is so easy. Lipstick is an easy, just throw it on and go. Again, I wouldn't go for the real dark, but having some, even Marilyn, I'm going to call you out for a minute. I love your color that it goes with your top. So it adds some color to her face, but it's not so over the top that we're like, oh, hey, Marilyn's lips are here. It goes well with what she's wearing. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's an easy thing. But yeah, this looks so much better. I like
Yay.
this.
Thank you, Natalie.
Look at that. Yes, of course.
Okay. I think if there's anybody else, this is last call for Zoom feedback. I think we have time for maybe one more. So if anybody else wants to know, or they're dying to know what Zoom feedback Natalie has. Okay, Lauren, she said she's game. So let's.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I'm in my office and I have a lot of court, right? I had to go to court this morning, hence the all black, Natalie. I know I should be more fun, but
It's okay. I'm wearing navy, as I said that.
and so, you can see kind of the wall of fame or whatever, like I thought it was, it's something just, I think it's topical, especially if it's, I'm in court, but is it too much? And the lighting in here is always kind of difficult. I do have a ring light and I'm wearing my glasses. I'm like doing a no-no. And I do sometimes not wear my glasses, but go for it. Just do your whatever, do your thing.
I do think the light is pretty good. I don't see, again, with your glasses, it's great that I can still see your eyes even while you have them on. I
Okay.
see just a bare reflection of the light in there. I would be curious to see if you could move the light closer to you. Is
Okay.
that possible?
So it's a ring light. I don't know if, yeah, but
Or
yes.
does it get strange?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if that.
Because in your case, you might actually want the background to be a little bit darker so that it's not quite so busy. Because it is a lot.
You want me to turn
I
the,
understand that it's
I
relevant.
can turn the lights out. I don't know.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
The thing about it is like during the day, like the light changes in here. So kind of depends on what
Yes.
time of the day, and it's really hard to, and the blinds are down, even though it looks like there's light, on the windows. So
Right. So I like the contrast here better than before, that I'm able to see you a bit better and we've muted the background a little bit, but also it does look like nighttime.
I know it looks like I'm in the
which
dark
would
because
look
I'm in the dark.
incongruent. Right. So that's tough. Are you able to face the window at all? Like what's behind you if you face the
Okay,
window?
well, see, my computer is like here on my like standing desk. But I could like,
Oh, yeah.
if I need to set it up, I mean, here, I've got my, you can kind of see the screen, like, well, I mean,
That would probably be,
I could totally reset. I could rework this, but I'm gonna put the lights back on.
sure. I would also consider, I do like the gallery wall that you've done. It looks good and it looks very, you look very smart and very accomplished, which I'm sure is what is good for when you're going to court. But you might want to consider maybe taking a few of them down and still keeping the gallery, but having maybe a smaller gallery wall behind you. That might be a bit cleaner.
Okay.
I know that you don't have to, but that's a recommendation that you can try.
And I could try to rework to where I'm set up in a different way. I just didn't know.
I would also, if you don't change the wall, I would try to make sure that the papers behind you on that desk.
I usually do that.
Far
I usually
away.
clean off everything before I go
Yeah.
to court. Like totally neat.
That's great. That's
not
great because you do want them to focus on you, right? You stood up and you reminded me of something that I forgot to share. If you are trying to figure out what to wear, now is the time to wear the things that only fit you from top up. Like if you also gained the quarantine 15 and you're like, I can't wear that anymore. Oh, but you can, because if it's not looking so great on the bottom, but it looks great now, that's the time. You look fine. I'm talking about me in my dress, by the way. I was like, I don't really like the way this looks on the bottom, but it looks great on top. So great. I'm going to wear that. Now's the time to pull those pieces out for sure. Anyway.
So we have one final feedback for Glenda Strum. She has a very important presentation coming up. So she would like to get feedback on her Zoom setup.
Yay. Hi, Glenda.
Hi.
You are lovely. Are you able to move a little bit more to my left? Because right now it looks like you're wearing the chandelier.
I don't have a chandelier. Oh yeah, that's on my
Or whatever.
stairs.
The lights. Can you move this way?
Yeah. South.
Let's see. You're right. You're right. You probably don't have to move the screen very much if you just moved a little bit to the right. I think that would be a little bit better.
See my screen, it would, there it is. Okay, move to the
Oh,
right.
there. Yes. There you go. Yes, I would do that because then it's not that you are wearing the lights on the stairs And we know that there's stairs and that separates you a little bit better.
And I like
Um,
it because
it-
I'm old, but I'm contemporary, so I like being here rather than in my traditional office.
Yeah, I think that's great. The other thing that I would recommend, if you're comfortable, I would opt for color in your wardrobe versus black or navy that you're wearing currently,
I have
because
lots of
I know that it does look right, perfect. Because I know that it does look cohesive with the background, but also you don't stand out quite as much from the background. And it's a little harder for me to see your eyes. So if you have a little bit more color, then that's going to change the lighting on you a little bit and would help you stand out a little bit more. And then, yeah, I think I would just go a little bit lighter on eye makeup color as well as top color. And I think that will look more. What kind of presentation are you doing, by the way?
Well, I, with a team of people, did a very successful fundraiser for the symphony here. We raised 4 times the amount they had raised the year before. So they want me to do a presentation about it. And I need some instruction on where to go to look for shared screen and those technical kind of things, or I can get some buddies at Baylor to help me.
Right. That bottom toolbar is extremely helpful. I would definitely set up a fake meeting with a friend or just a fake meeting and practice so that you can feel more comfortable with those things. Absolutely, because that can be hard. But
Because
overall, I think your setup looks great. I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
I'll have to show numbers because that's what it's about.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. One thing, if you are wanting to get people excited and interested in something, red, orange are good excitement colors. Yellow is good for happy. Green is good for collaboration. So those might be some considerations for you as you're deciding what to wear.
I have a
But I
word.
do want to be able to see your eyes a little bit more.
Okay. I have a wardrobe of red.
Let's do it. Bust it out.
We have a suggestion for Glenda from
There you
Dawn. Dawn, are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From Dawn. Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Glenda, yeah, you've got a great look there, and I agree the lighting is really good. One thing I would suggest is to raise your computer up. I assume you're on a laptop?
Yes.
Yeah, if you raise it just so the camera is just slightly above your eye level. So, and the way I could tell that was we could see the ceiling behind you. But this look is way better. I would lower it so your head's a little higher into the frame. But to me, that's a way more attractive look. We don't see your nostrils as much, and it's just a better look all around. I do want to, while I've got the microphone, I want to say, Natalie, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate it. And thank you for saying that. I can't believe I didn't bring that up. You're totally right. I currently have 4 very large books underneath my laptop to help make it come up a little bit. That is definitely helpful and important. Thank you for saying that.
I love the nostril comment. That was great.
Hey guys. Hey guys.
We all have them, right? We all have those nostrils, and I was the worst, by the way, about this. So I now have a webcam and a little tripod, so it's in the perfect position all the time. So, thank you.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Don. And thanks, Natalie.
Absolutely. Good
So
luck
we-
to you. I hope it goes well.
Thank
We
you.
have just a few more minutes, and we had some last minute questions come in that I think we should be able to cover before we hit a hard deadline of 1. One question was, I sometimes wear glasses and sometimes contact lenses. So which one is better in Zoom, glasses or no glasses?
Generally, if you can avoid glasses, I would avoid it. But sometimes, you look smarter with glasses on. So it depends on what you're trying to present. But generally speaking, I would aim for no glasses. But really, it's probably a 50-50 split. You can do either one, whatever you feel more comfortable with, as long as you have glasses that still allow us to see your eyes. If they don't, if they cut you like right at your eyebrow and right at your bottom lid, don't go with context.
Okay, and then we kind of covered the position of the camera, making sure, so I feel like we're good on that. And then, yeah, there was one question. Jessica, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I did. Natalie, thank you so much for all of this content. It was absolutely incredible. I just wondered if you could settle a debate between my husband and I am happy to
Oh,
tell
no.
him that he is right if that is the case. I am a big fan of not centering different items that are exactly the same. And so while he was hanging my artwork, he said, "This is a terrible idea. You should put them right next to each other. They're going to look, one is going to look like it's a crown on your head while the other actually looks like an art piece." And I said, "You would know style if it hit you in the head. So I'm not going to take your advice. But however, because we have you on the call, if he's right, I will tell him right now that he is right. Should I lower the one above my head and put them right next to each other?" Yes, it's okay.
Question.
He
feel
can
like-
be right.
like
He
I'm
can be
stepping-
right.
Okay. So the only thing that I would say is that they are very busy patterns.
Yes.
So while lowering it, it's probably the right decision. Those particular patterns together are a little hard. It might look a little overwhelming. So as an alternative, could you, instead of moving it down symmetrically, could you move it out another inch or two and then down a little bit more? So that
Absolutely.
you're separating them a little bit more?
100%. Yes. I love that.
So you're both right.
Yes.
Yes. And they don't need to be totally symmetrical, but also it does rest on your head. So you could maybe move it over and down a bit to where they're still off center, but then not so overwhelming with the pattern.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I will tell him that he was halfway right. Halfway right.
That's amazing. I do not offer marriage counseling, but I'm happy to help.
Totally fine. Totally fine. Thank you very much, Natalie. This has been great. And thank you so much to the organization for hosting this. This has been wonderful. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks,
Yes,
Jessica.
you too.
Thank you so much for coming. It was awesome to have you here. Well, that concludes our presentation. I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming and for joining us. You all look beautiful on your Zoom screens. And now we're going to look even better with all of Natalie's information and tips. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing with us. And guys, just before you leave, if you have not done the QR code on her screen, please make sure you do to get lots more tips from her email list. And I just hope that y'all have a great day and take care.
Thank you so much, Katrina. Thank you guys for all the questions.